Hi Libra, welcome to your September reading. All right, so let's start off by talking about Mercury Retrograde, which started yesterday, and it's in your sign. Now, aside from Mercury being in your sign and then going retrograde in your sign, you also have Jupiter across from you in Aries, and Jupiter's also retrograde. So Mercury's retrograde in your sign, Jupiter's retrograde across from you, Libra Rising, I'm talking to you. And then Mercury in Libra will oppose Jupiter in Aries. And this will continue for quite a few days. During this time, it's really, really easy for anything and everything to become an argument. Why? Because the things that you generally keep hidden, the things that you deal with on your own, you can't seem to keep them out of small everyday conversations that turn into arguments because you're not having the same conversation with people that they are. You're hearing and speaking from a completely different place that's very open and very vulnerable, and you're not used to it and you're not in control of it. Most of the time, you're not cognizant that it's happening in the moment because it's so not like you. Mars is also in Gemini, so keep that in mind as well. You have a lot of air energy coming together to create something that, from your point of view, is very reckless. Now, it's incredibly reckless to you, especially when it comes to money and career. Because when you just start saying stuff without thinking about it, again, total antithesis of Libra energy, generally it causes a little bit of an issue with your money. It can cause some loss. And you are very driven right now. You're very focused on a specific goal and a specific kind of success. Material world, okay? So when your emotions start getting in the way, these hidden parts of you that you have done a great job to suppress and sublimate, not show us at all. When those parts of you start speaking or doing the talking for you, this area of your life that's highly curated, work life, is the most vulnerable, okay? So if you feel yourself having arguments at work, if you catch yourself in the next 3.5 weeks speaking to people, realizing while you're talking to them that your tone is wrong, just stop. Stop and course correct. Because if you don't catch yourself, you're going to end up having to walk away from situations that you really like. And you can create a toxic environment at work, which leads to some big losses. So Mercury retrograde in your sign is a vulnerability and openness that is so ill-timed for you. Everything in you right now wants to focus on this bigger dream, on work, on success, on material wealth. You want it to go really, really fast, right? You're just itching for it to go even faster. If you could post more, make more, do more, write more, everything more, you would do it right now. And this push, this going in 10 directions at once, and everyone can see that you're frazzled, this push, this, again, Mars and Gemini energy, remember what that energy does. It's not productive. It's productive in some people's hands, but air and air, no. Air and fire, definitely not. This is the energy that pushes until things break. So, is it exciting that you have all these things you want to do? Of course it is. Is it exciting that you have this plan, right? That's really beautiful to you and it's motivating? Yes, of course, all of those things are great. Is it normal to want to make money? Is it normal to want to be materially successful? Of course it is. But with all these retrogrades, if you think just because now you have the vision in your head that it's go time, the only going you're going to be doing is like this. It's not go time. It's prep time. it's not going to be go time for a while still. Okay? So let's not get ahead of ourselves because we want to have this fat resume by the time your birthday comes around. You're doing things for the wrong reasons, right? Let's recalibrate and get back to what makes this season so important for you. These truths that you would like to keep to yourself, this criticism that only makes you better, this having to go around obstacles instead of putting your shoulder to them when it comes to your career. All these things are making you more interesting. They're making you more successful. They're giving you that much more depth of character. But you have to be careful here because I think that there is a part of you that's going to start to rebel against itself. I think you're let me explain what I mean. I think you're much more conservative than you let on. And I think there are certain things that you're doing or that you're a part of that your spirit is like, yeah, I really don't like this anymore. I don't want to be a part of this. This seems wrong to me. But you don't know how to get out of it. It's that age-old dilemma of like getting, inducted into some kind of cool group and you really want to be a part of that group until they start asking you to do really dumb shit. And you're like, why do I have to do that to be in this cool group? There are things that this success and all these things that you want, all these ideas you have, all this inspiration you have that's pushing you forward and really making you impatient. It leaves you open and vulnerable to doing things that you may not necessarily, in terms of morality and principles, you may not actually agree with. It might be a lot more controversial for you than it would be for other people, because in many ways you are very conservative. You're a bit of a prude, Libra. You know that. Okay, so Libra rising. Venus is in your 12th house. So let's look at this second row with that in mind now. So Libra rising, if Venus is in your 12th house then, or just in general, Libra sun, having that Venus energy right behind you, it is going to create this push of all the things that you've always wanted that you haven't had. Now, if you think that spending money on yourself is a way to get out of this or a way to somehow appease this process or make it easier, you're wrong. Actually, what that's going to do is going to stress you out even more, because ultimately you're buying more stuff that you don't need, that you need to put somewhere, that you don't have a place for, that you'll now have to edit other things out for. And sooner or later, the retail therapy stops working. And you know what? As much as it's a terrifying moment when you realize that that's happening, it's also very liberating, because you start to realize how much of your life you're spending distracting yourself from what's really bothering you, therefore making you completely inept at doing anything well, because you have to keep half of your mind distracted so it doesn't focus on this thing that if you just focused on it, you could easily solve. Thus creating this vicious, terrible downward spiral of things that should have been done and haven't gotten done. And so the next thing didn't get done and the next thing didn't get done. And all of a sudden your trajectory that's supposed to be up, 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 can't stop spiraling down, right? So for you to have Venus energy in your 12th house or just right behind you, pushing you, what it makes you feel like is, why haven't I gotten this done already? What is wrong with me? Why didn't I do this already? Why didn't I know this already? Why have I already wasted so much time? Why are things going even slower? How come every time I try to give it a push, it seems like it breaks and I have to start all over again? Why the F is this happening to me? Well, part of it, or what exacerbates it, let's say that, what really exacerbates it right now is that you're displaying heavy Libra energy. You're being very indecisive. It's like you know, but you don't know, but you know, but should I push? Should I not push? Is this a good thing to be a part of? Is this not a good thing to be a part of? There are some institutions that you've become a part of somehow that you're realizing they're not actually that great and they're not on the up and up. So what are you going to do about that? Venus in Virgo will also square Mars in Gemini. Okay? So if your inside and your outside don't match, if your inside and your outside don't match, when Venus in Virgo squares Mars in Gemini, you'll be found out for it. Whatever you're like inside is going to come out regardless of the face you put on. To say that in a general Libra reading is terrifying. Okay? Now, remember when I said that you can't look for answers at this time? You can't. You can't look for answers. This is a time of review. It's not a time of change. So if you're thinking of starting something new or you like somebody, the last thing you want to do is start a relationship right now or any sort of romantic entanglement when literally if you were to buy a piece of clothing in the next 3 weeks, later you're going to hate it. If you change your hair in 3 weeks, you're going to hate it. If you buy a new book and you think you love it, in 3 weeks you'll be like, what trash have I been reading? So the last thing you want to do is do that with a person because it's going to be the same energy. For some reason, when we're confused and out of sorts, our taste in people is completely different. And if you make yourself choose something right now, you'll end up choosing someone who will just take and take and take from you. And if you choose to remain indecisive at this time to the point where it's like a drug, then you will also find that this habit with time has become a lot more costly and a lot more, it's a lot more expensive in many ways. Let's say that. So really getting a handle on that indecision, moving forward in faith, moving forward in total confidence that those 9 of Wands that are getting kind of whispered into your ear, that they do lead somewhere with rest and appropriate words and the appropriate amount of motivation. Those things that aren't being addressed, those things you want, those things you need, they do end up coming to you. They do end up taking you somewhere. But the journey is, it's a really interesting journey because I think it's been a while since you've had a reading that wasn't basically about you in relation to other people or how you reflect off of other people. So it's nice to even feel that energy from the reading of this just genuinely being just about you. Okay, now let's look at the astrology a little bit more. When you are fixating at the beginning of the month here for the first 2 weeks about making it even further and more money and, more success and more power and all of this, one of the interesting things that happens that can provide a lot of great energy to your business, to your everything, is this ability during Mercury retrograde to be able to see yourself through other people's eyes. You can see how their valuations work. You can see how much they pay for this and this and this, and you have this asset, this asset, this asset. So you're able to, in Virgo season, create a very timely, competitive, time value price for yourself, for your business, for your brand, whatever it is, because you can see so quickly or so clearly in other people when you're sitting with them, when you're talking with them, that they're doing a little mental breakdown of your value, okay, of your skill level, of what you bring to the table, of what they would be acquiring if they acquired you, right? Now, like I said, don't start anything new, right? Enjoying retrograde singlehood is extremely smart moves because regardless of how it starts off, it always ends with this like terrible isolation. So just don't do it because it's not meant to last. Okay? And last but not least, don't be stubborn. From the 15th to the 18th, you're going to be pretty touchy when it comes to money. But then money is going to clear up in a couple of weeks after that. So we're into mid-October, late October. Money's fine now. So you have to just make it from now until then. And if you are not stubborn, you'll find a way through all of this to get by. Right? somewhere between your friends giving you advice, especially people you really trust giving you advice, and your own instinct is somewhere there's a happy medium between those two, which is exactly where you need to be. Okay? Now, one last thing before we go into the extended. People are going to start changing. Your level of success, your level of love, your level of beauty, all the level ups, people are going to start to change. Please don't give them free ammo as well. Okay? Good? I love you. We're going right into the extended. So, let's shuffle through now. Actually, wait, let me talk to you about what we'll be talking about in the extended. Let's talk about this Venus and Virgo energy squaring Mars and Gemini, the panic that it brings, what you can do to alleviate that panic, what the cards say is good for that panic. Okay? We're going to talk more about redoing the emotional mind, right? And how we shouldn't redo the self-image. And we're going to talk about this 9-9 to 10-2 period where arguments are, there's just fertile ground for knockdown, drag out arguments. And what you can do to navigate that energy. Okay? Now, for real. I love you, love you. We're going right into the extended.